Live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Total Education Show, the talk shop for teachers, parents, and administrators. Here's your host of the show, Neil Haley, the Total Tutor.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Total Tutor Show. I'm the host of the show, Neil Haley. Got to go to the website, totaltutor.net, to find out more information on the Total Education Network. It's really exciting. I'm soon counting up to 100. I have to kind of get my team together, I guess, to figure out 100. Did I say my team? Wow, have things changed, and they keep, it's so exciting. Soon we'll be launching in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Kansas City, Missouri, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun, the growth, the excitement, the opportunities. Andy Russell's Golf Foundation tournament. I'm really excited about that, and so many cool things happening. So go to my website, totaltutor.net, to really check everything out, and also all the other places as well. But I want to welcome to the program my co-host, Jarrett. Jarrett, it's just so much fun to keep talking about this growth, isn't it?
It is, and I think when you said team, I think you meant to say your peeps. Got your peeps out there working for you.
No, it's cool. Yeah.
And making quite a bit of noise on the radio front and even in the television business these days, right?
Exactly, yes. I'm looking forward to April 26th when you finally come to the TV studios of the Total Education Network as well. And it's such dreams that you and I had starting out on Blog Talk at, I guess, 4 in the morning. And where we have gone, it's so much fun, and to know how many people listen to us and see everything. But let's go right to today. I thought, let's talk about, this is a great topic. When I first met you, and we were both working as developmental therapists, but we both had that same relationship. We were teachers. And then I kind of really interviewed you about your passion as a teacher, something dedication that I think is missing in this profession today.
I'm not so sure I would go that far. I think that there are many teachers that I would almost say nearly all teachers seem to demonstrate to me a dedication, particularly now that my 6-year-old is in school, and I've been very happy with each of his 2 teachers in kindergarten and in first grade, and all of the support staff that surrounds him and really has made his school career to this date, albeit short, very successful. I think what we see, though, is certainly there's still that dedication to teaching, but not necessarily the willingness to take risks, the willingness to explore new ideas. I think there's kind of a general consensus of this is the way it's done, this is the way we're doing it, and if we change it, it'll only change again in 2 or 3 years, which to a degree, I guess, is kind of right too.
Well, most definitely, but I again, you show that humility, Jarrett, and I'm going to jump on that and say I don't think that your son's teachers are as dedicated as you were at your school. And let's go to a specific example of you're teaching a social studies lesson, and the amount of detail you put into your teaching is just phenomenal. And I think this is something that when I talked to you, I thought that's what I was going to do as a teacher. Because, again, when I was a developmental therapist, I was still teaching all the time. I taught almost the whole time through it when I was DV. And what you told me about one lesson and how you developed it was amazing. And I think you remember some of your social studies lessons, right?
Oh, absolutely. That was actually one of my all-time favorite subjects to teach. I enjoyed teaching fourth grade and handling all of the subjects, but certainly social studies was one of my all-time favorite because it just gave you so much freedom and so many ways to reach students. You could, at that time, the internet and computers within the classroom were just starting to be utilized, so there were so many really neat ways to engage students, have them do research, let them almost guide themselves, but certainly that the teacher was involved. And anyone that's familiar with our show knows that we frequently go back to our education at the University of Duquesne, at Duquesne University, where we were really taught some of the most modern and cutting-edge ways of reaching students, and focusing on independence, focusing on disciplinary ways to do it and really individualized instruction, and to be able to utilize that in a classroom of 20 students. And it's a lot to ask to do.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot to ask to do. Let's kind of go specifically one lesson. Let's say you were teaching the Civil War. You talked about how you could write it on a cocktail napkin. I remember the whole story almost vividly, and let's see how much you remember from maybe 7 or 8 years ago when we talked about this, and specifically how you would teach a lesson and the amount of time you took, and then the amount of time at home prepping.
Well, and certainly that took a huge toll. I don't know if I'd ever ask any teacher to do that, but it was very rewarding. By gosh, there were so many neat things that we did studying the Civil War. I can remember one of my favorite lessons was, and this was a kind of a compilation of different things. My mother is a seamstress and does lots of sewing. She had all this extra fabric, and we were reading a book about a young lady who was a spy for the Union, for the northern side, and she had to dress up as a Confederate soldier. And so, the idea just came to me. I thought, with all my mom's fabric, what if I had the students research the clothing that was worn during that era, not simply limiting to uniforms of the soldiers, but actually letting them research all of the different apparel that was worn during that period, and coming up with their own clothing. And then we had this, it was one of my favorite things, we had a fashion show for the whole school and the parents. I mean, this took about a week to do, with the kids cutting and measuring. So there was math involved, and there was trial and error, but I had them cut and measure and fit themselves, and all on a fourth grade level. We used fabric glue, staples if they needed to, whatever it took, the most basic stitch that you could teach. I even had my mom come in and demonstrate a different kind of stitching that they could use, all very safe. I'm not sure you could do this in a public school setting. It would kind of take too much time. It would not necessarily meet the scope and sequence.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Here's the reason why. That's what's missing in teaching. What you're just talking about, that's why I wanted our listeners to hear about that. I don't hear about that dedication. It reminds me of the one movie, I guess, where they did the entire Civil War, dressed up the entire time. I forget which movie that was in the theaters. I think Robin Williams was involved in it. I just think that's what's needed in teaching. That the out-of-the-box thinking. You don't need to do this traditional way of teaching, honestly, to engage students that some students just won't get it. They won't understand it. But by doing this, they really physically are learning the Civil War, and then they'll be interested in the lesson. That's my thought.
And what we saw happen was, there were some students who, for whatever reason, were really zoned in, focused in. They finished their clothing earlier, and I gave them a lot of options. Options such as, hey, how about you try? I called it expert. Become an expert. I say, what other kind of topic are you interested in becoming an expert? Come in and let's take a look at that. All within the Civil War. Maybe it would be a different battle, or maybe it would be researching a famous general or a soldier or a soldier's life. But the other neat thing that happened is I would then ask the student, hey, you've finished. You've had some time. Our friend over there, he could probably use your help getting his costume finished for the fashion show. And again, it gave students a chance to work together, students who may not have had much in common, sitting side by side, doing things cooperatively. And again, I know that sometimes, especially in education today, we emphasize competitiveness, and we're always, so many times in education we talk about how not rigid, what's the word that I'm looking for? Difficult, I forget, rigorous, that's it, academic rigorous, that's the academic rigor, that's the word that I hear used often. Just once I'd like to hear a school say, yeah, you know what, we're not so concerned about that. We're just going to let kids do their own thing. You know, every school is going to claim to be academically rigorous. You can't help but do otherwise. But what was nice though is students had options, and Neil, I still am in touch with students from that period. Just this past year, I saw a parent up at the ski slopes up in the Laurel Mountains. Her daughter's just finished graduate studies at Princeton, and she said to me, you know, she still talks about the cool stuff that you guys did in fourth grade.
So,
and she's a graduate student in Princeton.
See, there you go, Jared. This is what I'm saying. What we're missing in education is, we hear about this watered-down effect, and again, I don't know how much I'll talk about it until Education Hour. I've decided to go back to the way we started the first time, just because, again, I've been off of the Total Education Hour for 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm not really talked education. I'm just interviewing celebrities, which is fine, but this is my passion, and I always want to kind of open it up, especially when we're getting into the busiest time, which May comes very soon, and this is when the grind it out of the rest of the school year. You keep kids' interest, you have to make it exciting. You got to make it fun. And people like you that dedicated that time, put that time and effort into preparing lessons that really meant something. Look at that. They don't forget about it, and they'll never forget about you as their fourth grade teacher.
Well, let me, and one of the biggest complaints, probably my only complaint that I have with my son's school is in first grade, he has homework. And I've shared my opinion on homework, particularly in elementary school. But what's important here to recognize that this school specifically, the first school I was teaching in, we had a no homework policy.
Right.
And so there was no homework. Everything that was done in and during the school day. When the students went home, they went home and they played or they had their activities. Homework was not part of the deal. For me, I'd rather see my son, like tonight we were playing Chinese checkers. I would rather have my son play a board game or do an activity with me, run around the yard, do anything other than do homework, because as hard as it is for him, it's equally as hard for me.
Well, and that's great. And like I said, I agree with you. And the homework should be for practice. It should not be for busy work. Just to say I'm doing homework. Honestly, Jarrett, come on now. People that bring their work home with them are successful people. Meaning the ones that we're kind of trying to train to get done. Come on now. They're not really going to have homework. They're going to work 9 to 5, hit that clock, and go home. But people who are successful, they're going to work extra time. They're going to put that extra time in, just like you did in the classroom. So I think forcing it is not the way. Intrinsically, people get motivated or extrinsically about doing it.
And you nailed it right there, Neil, because here's what my son, the past, and here's the intrinsic motivation. We're playing board games, but just yesterday, picked up a book, and he said, hey, I want to read to you.
That's great.
That's homework.
That's definitely, absolutely. Well, exciting things coming, Jarrett, and I wanted to talk to you about that teaching so that we could go back part 2 next week. More of Jarrett's lessons. I mean, because again, like I said, you have to open up that lesson plan book, and the Total Education Network needs to start selling those lessons. We've told you that before, because the teachers would really benefit for these lessons because they're so detailed and so unbelievable. But also, I'm going to offer you in May, the Wiggles are coming on the show, and I want you to interview them with me. I know you would be in for that one. You would.
Oh my gosh, the background in education for the Wiggles, just an amazing group of performers.
So I told you that celebrity segment, but you can jump on that one because I already talked to my co-host that does the athletes and stuff, and I think you're perfect for the Wiggles. So, okay, Jarrett, you take care, man, and we'll talk tomorrow, and we'll keep rocking and rolling with some more great education talk. So take care, Jarrett.
Absolutely, Neil.
We're back to the Total Tutor Show, powered by the Beach Lifestyle Celebrity segment. Again, TotalTutor.net and SimplyG.com. And, GJ, always the celebrities get bigger and bigger. And I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite players of all time as a quarterback. So go ahead and introduce him.
Well, he definitely changed the position of quarterback, and he was known as he was a great athlete, and he was a great scrambler. He also wrote a book about his scrambling in 1993, and he had a 16-year career primarily with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings, and he also played with Dallas and Baltimore. He had one fantastic career, and he set a lot of records, and when he retired, he had many records, and some of them have been passed up by Michael Vick. So definitely he set the trend before the Michael Vicks of the world started playing. So please welcome to the show, Randal Cunningham. How are you doing, Randal?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing great, man. Thanks, DJ. I appreciate you guys having me on. Awesome.
Well, we're really excited to have you on, and I'm telling you, when I was watching you when you played for the Eagles, and I remember that was back in high school, showing my age, I'm 40, I was just such a huge fan of yours, and it's such an honor to have you on the show. But tell our audience a little bit about the background, about your career a little bit before we get right to the book.
Well, it was a great time being able to go from Santa Barbara, California in 1981, take a scholarship at UNLV, be able to play quarterback. I had to turn USC down because USC was, running the ball a lot. They didn't really throw the ball, and I wanted to throw the ball in college. So UNLV had 3 senior quarterbacks, and I figured I'd be able to go into the NFL. Well, 4 years later, I was drafted as the first quarterback in the NFL and got to play with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ended up playing there 11 years, got to hang out with Chris Carter again, who played with the Eagles. I went to the Vikings, was there Randy Moss's first year, threw a lot of passes to Randy and all the guys, Jake Reed, and it's a great year. We set records and went to Dallas after that. Basically became a person who was in ministry, believe it or not. Went to Baltimore the year after they won the Super Bowl, and I retired with the Philadelphia Eagles, and now I'm a pastor in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been pastoring for about 8 years, and we've got about 1,100, 1,200 people in our church. It's really been going great.
Well, it's interesting what you talked about, the whole situation about being a pastor, and my faith is very important to us, and especially our syndicated stations across the country have definitely a faith build when we're talking terrestrial radio, especially Wilkins Communication. Now, GJ, it's amazing to see specifically he knew exactly what he was going to do after his career, right, G?
Right. Well, unlike a lot of players, when they quit playing, they're unsure what to do and how to do it, and sometimes they even feel lost. And obviously, Randal, you knew exactly what you were going to do and how you're going to do it. So, once you tell our audience a little bit about the transition from football into the ministry, and then, as Neil said, we'll talk a little bit more about your upcoming book.
It's kind of amazing, but I grew up in the church, but, I was one of those kids who fell asleep, at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, had my brother there. We'd play around. And, it turns out that I was still learning as I was coming up as a young kid, a church kid. I can't say that I was a Christian when I was a kid because I really had never really accepted Christ as my Lord. But when I made it to the NFL and encountered people like Reggie White, and Reggie got in my face and said to me, "Randal, are you a Christian?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a Christian," not knowing that I really wasn't a Christian because I never really said the prayer. I just kind of believed in the big thing in the sky. He challenged with a lot of different things, and I talk about that in my book. And, having someone like that in my life, and a lady coming up and handed me a Bible and had a program where you could read about a chapter and a half a day, and you would finish reading the Bible in 3.5 years. It was prophesied when I was young. When I was a kid, that I would be a pastor. I was like, no, I'm not. And, I didn't go to seminary school. I didn't go to Bible college. I was hands-on trained by, about 4 men. Pastor John Michaels of Calvary Chapel, and different men. Steve Mays was inspirational from Calvary Chapel, South Bay, and opening doors for me, and Troy Johnson, and a lot of people. But Reggie White was the one who got in my face. And I began to clean my life up as an NFL player because a lot of these guys, as you said, we finish our careers, and you're used to making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Some people making millions of dollars, and you think you just ride off in the sunset and retire, and you think it's just going to Hawaii and golfing every day. But I'm going to tell you something. That's a very empty life, and I found that out. And I started a Bible study in Las Vegas, and the next thing you know, we had 50 people there, and then my pastor friends told me, that's a church, Randall. It's not a Bible study. And I was like, it's just a little Bible study. And in 2003, my pastor, John Michaels, said, hey, we've got to get you ordained. And I looked around like, who is he talking to? Because I know he's not talking to me. I wasn't trying to become a pastor. I just wanted to read the Bible and share with people. And the next thing you know, like I said, we've got 1,100 people, 1,200 people in our church. We're a multicultural church in Las Vegas, Nevada called Remnant Ministries. And, I've had great, great success in my life. And then, everybody has ups and downs. And, I went through the loss of a little boy when he was 2.5 years old. Our son drowned while we were gone, and somebody else was watching our child drown in our jacuzzi. And that was a very difficult thing. And somebody told me that I would write a book. And, I said, yeah, well, maybe so. And so we just completed the book and gotten great responses from it. It's pretty amazing.
So basically, it must have been difficult, first of all, to write about yourself, right, when you finally decided to write a book. Because sometimes when you're looking to finally empty your life out to people and pour out your soul, that's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what? It would have been difficult. The difficult times were really to talk about Christian. And, we named him after Jesus. We're Christian people. We wanted him to be named after the Lord because we really follow Jesus. And so we named him Christian. And let me tell you something. This little boy was a perfect boy. And the whole book is not about him. But it's really about the experiences of good times, bad times. It's about getting mentored. It's about how to learn how to lay things down from your past. I mean, I deal with serious issues, and Tim Willard is the writer, but I'm the author. So Tim pulled a lot out of me that I didn't even know was in me, and so he had me talk about a lot of things like being mentored by people, learning how to let go of our hurts and our pains from the past. So many people struggle with just saying, there's enough coming. Let me just be the best that I could be today and let tomorrow handle itself. And from the response from those who have read the book, and there's been quite a few people that have already purchased the book, they told me they couldn't put the book down.
Oh, wow.
One person told me, I read 3/4 of the book, and I'm going to finish it tonight. Pastor, they said, I'm crying 1 minute, I'm laughing the next minute, and then I'm thinking about my life and the mistakes I've made and how I can change my own life, and that there is a bright future. And that's kind of what the book deals with. It deals with understanding that you can lay the things down that you've been frustrated with, the anxieties, the failures, the people who disappointed you through divorce or abused you when you were a child. It deals with a lot of those issues, and it gets people in touch with saying, you know what, it's not as bad as I think it is, and if I just release this to God, then I can have a great life, and I can be happy every day instead of walking around like I'm chewing on lemons and have a sour and bitter face.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah,
it really deals with that. So the response that I've been receiving is really has just been thank you. It's been like, thank you, I've never read a book like this. And so I'm just blessed to be able to share my experiences and my shortcomings and the good times and the times when people like Reggie White got in my face and told me about tithing and said, Randall, if you're a Christian, you need to tithe to the church. I said, show me in the Bible where it says tithe. And he went to Malachi 3:10, and he told me, and I even share the testimony of how I went and I paid my tithe. I wrote that $100,000 check, and the next day I got a check for $500,000.
Oh, wow.
And so there's testimonies in there, and there's a lot of great things. And, I share a little bit. It's not like a football book. It's more of a book about life, and just being able to know that there is a bright future if you accept it.
Now, GJ, in Randall, you'll find out a lot if you ever get a chance to read GJ's book. He really put his life on the line in different times. He really had some difficulties he had to share with his audience when he wrote the book and laying it down. Great title, isn't it, G?
Absolutely, and as you're describing the book and some of the the backstory to it, Randall, I've got the goosebumps, which my friend calls the God bumps. So I've got So I definitely feel from a spirit standpoint that it's a great book, and you're going to have even more impact on more people's lives. And I was just thinking, I said, how amazing that Reggie White got into your face and basically
he did that.
he did that to a lot of people, didn't he?
The late Reggie White, what a great man.
Right. Well, I was just thinking how his legacy is living on. Just obviously he touched more lives than just yours, but you just by him reaching into your life, how you're having impact in so many other people's lives, and you talk about laying it down and letting go. And one of the hardest things that I see that most people they're holding on to the illusion of and the control of things, even though they really don't control anything other than their thoughts, their words, and their actions. And,
that's right.
And so, so your title's right on, and obviously, you've had the ups and downs of a professional career, and then finally, like you said, playing golf every day. I mean, I love playing golf, but at some point it gets a little lonely when you're doing it out there by yourself. So
that golf doesn't bring happiness; it brings relaxation. So it's supposed to, but that little white ball, for some reason, it just frustrates you because every once in a while it just gets lost on the course and you can't find it.
Exactly. I tell people if you watch somebody play golf, you can tell how their life is because there's going to be frustration, there's going to be the highs, there's going to be the lows, and you'll see how they deal with it. So it's a great place to learn about an individual. So obviously you're excited about the book, and we're excited to read it. And as I shared before we started the show, I did the pre-order. So why don't you tell everyone where we can find more information about you, what you're doing, in your life and in other people's lives, and also where we can find the book when it comes out. I believe March 26th of this month.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the book is already online. You can go online, push my name, Randal Cunningham, book. It's a new book. It's not the book, my old book that has a high top haircut to flat top. Because my hair is not a flat top anymore. I lost a little bit of hair on top. Kind of looks like you grabbed a bowling ball if you look at the top of my head. But it's called Lay It Down. I look a little bit older in it, more mature, I would say. A little bit of gray hair on my eyebrows and things like that. So, it's called Lay It Down, and it's online right now. There might even be discounted prices right now, for all I know. But we've ordered a lot of copies. Hopefully by this week we'll be at have sold over 1,000 copies, which would be beautiful. But this book, I have to say, this book is great for ladies, for women, for elderly people, and I'm telling you, there will be one time that you cry in the book because it's a very sensitive book to the emotions of a person and the things we get to. And in that moment that you get teary-eyed and tears stream down your face, that's breakthrough time. And you should say, Lord, this time that I'm hurting right now or that I'm being healed, these tears are running down my face. Heal me of what I'm experiencing right now and allow me to be stronger for tomorrow. And I really believe that the book was written as a means of healing people who've gone through things, but at the same time bringing joy to people who need that joy.
Well, tremendous what you're saying, Randall. And again, so they can purchase the book on Amazon as well as any other places they can find it. All over, I guess, all major bookstores soon will be carrying it at the end of March, right?
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, and I have a book signing here in Las Vegas, Nevada, at Barnes & Noble on March the 30th. I'll be there for about maybe an hour and a half.